So you want to be a speaker, you want to be a keynote speaker, you want to stand on stages and inspire audiences, educate them, enlighten them, or you want to be paid to be a speaker. Well, in this video, I want to share with you 10 things you need to know in order to get started as a professional speaker, to begin your career as a speaker. I'm Dr. Manny Scott, and I've delivered over 2,500 keynote presentations and have led assemblies and delivered presentations in 49 states, 6 continents, and I recently retired from the road, but I am now sharing my wisdom to help you get started as a speaker, to help you flourish in every area of your life, not just as a speaker, but in several areas, in your relationships, your health, your wealth, your love, in terms of your service as a speaker, as an educator, or as a minister even. So I want to share with you 10 things that you need to know in order to start your career as a speaker, okay? And so the first thing I want to share with you is that you need to get clear. The first thing you need to do is get clear about your burden for why you want to speak. Or let me put it another way. Do you have a burden in your heart to become a speaker? Do you have a burden in your heart to make a difference in the lives of a particular group of people? Because it starts there for me. Too many people get started with the desire to make money, to get rich, to blow up. They want to travel, and they like the life and the lifestyle that working for yourself can afford you as a professional speaker. But I'm here to tell you that if you get in this for money, you won't make it. You won't make it very long for several reasons. So you need to have a burden for a particular group of people. You need to have a burden to make a difference in the lives of other people. And you want to get clear about who those people are. What type of person do you feel called to help? Who is your burden tied to? And you need to get clear about that. Sometimes people want to speak to young men. Sometimes people want to speak to only women. Sometimes people want to speak to everybody. But the problem is, everybody doesn't need what you have to offer. There's a particular group of people that really need what you have to offer, the message you want to share with them, the people you are burdened for. Get clear about that, number one. Number two, you need to identify your tip of the arrow. What is your tip of the arrow? What does that mean? So in archery, there's a bow and there's an arrow. And you pull it back, and at the very tip is the tip of the arrow, but there's the body and then there's the tail. This arrow symbolizes you and your life and your expertise. And so you might know a whole lot of stuff about whatever it is, whatever your topic is, whatever you feel you know a lot about, whatever you have experience with. That's who you are, your life experiences, your education, your travels, things you're passionate about, your hobbies, your family, whatever. You can talk about any number of things, but you need to talk about the thing that will get you in the door. That's your tip of the arrow. What are you better at than most people in your world? What can you talk about with more expertise or excellence than the people in your world? Not necessarily the entire world. You can get to that. But what are you great at in your world? That's your tip of the arrow. And ideally, your tip of the arrow is tied to someone else's problems, someone else's pain points, because you, in order to succeed, you're going to need to help people solve their problems. That's the only reason people are going to trade their money for your time and your value. Okay, so you need to identify your tip of the arrow. Number three, you need to learn how to market yourself to groups that have the problem that you say you can solve. And so you need to find out where those groups are, and you need to market yourself to them through your marketing materials, through relationship building, through word of mouth, through social media. But you need to create content and send emails to people who have groups that are dealing with the problems that you believe you can solve. Your area of expertise, your tip of the arrow. That's number three. Number four, you need to offer to speak for free in the beginning to get experience, to build up your confidence, to develop your expertise, to find and hone and refine your voice, and in order to just get better. And so you need to offer yourself to these groups, to these meeting planners, to speak for free. If you want to speak in schools, reaching out to principals, to superintendents, to work speaking to teachers, speaking to anybody that has an opportunity that would allow you to speak to their group. Okay, but you need to speak for free. A lot of of times people ask, what should I charge? That question is premature. You have to earn and work your way to charging anything. And if you start charging early, no one's going to pay you because you haven't proven yourself. You haven't established yourself. A lot of times people think they can just write a book and that'll cause doors to open for them. I personally believe you need to earn a book, not write a book. And you earn it by putting in the work. And from my experience, the work itself teaches you specifically what you should write about. But more on that later. Number 5, as you prepare to speak, you need to write out your presentation word for word and rehearse it and for hours and internalize that presentation. It comes from your heart. You put it out on a piece of paper, you put it out on your laptop, and then you reorganize it and you design it. And there's a whole lot that goes into writing your presentation and speech, writing for the ear as opposed to the mind, and reading versus hearing and all of that. Whatever you write, you need to internalize it so that when it's time for you to speak, you don't need to be reading your manuscript. You don't need to be reading your speech. Very few people can read their speeches very well. One of the only people who I've seen do it amazingly well he was called the Harvard Hooper, Reverend Dr. Charles Adams. This man could read his manuscripts and preach you into a frenzy. He was incredible at reading his manuscripts. And my dear brother Charlie Dates does really well too. He does a little bit of both. But I recommend you early on, you write out your presentation word for word and internalize it so that when it's time for you to speak, you know what you're going to say. Number 6, you should record every presentation you make or have someone record it for you and study your film, study your presentation. You're going to be your own worst critic. Trust me, I'm my own worst critic. You're going to see stuff. You're going to see yourself do stuff that you didn't like. You're going to have fillers. Maybe you're going to do something with your body. Sometimes you might have little tics that you didn't know you had. Sometimes you might just have this thing that you don't like about yourself or that someone else might bring to your attention. If you're married, trust me, your spouse, if they love you, they're going to lovingly share things with you that are going to make you better, but it's going to hurt your feelings sometimes, or it's going to bring to your awareness like, I didn't know I did that, or I didn't know I came off like that. But you want to record your presentations and study your film and make sure you're identifying areas where you can get better. That's why you study the film. You want to get better little by little every single time, and you only do that by studying your presentation. You do that by reviewing your presentation in your head. What did I say? How could I have said that better? That didn't come out right, or that didn't feel right, or the audience didn't receive that the right way. Perhaps it was the way I said it. Perhaps I haven't developed that idea enough. Perhaps I need to provide a better illustration or explanation of that point. Maybe I need to replace that content with something else. The key is to just find things that you know you can improve at least by 1% every single time. Number 7, if you're good, and if you're effective, if you're touching hearts, if you're inspiring minds, then people are going to start wanting you to speak to their group. Someone's going to be in the audience and say, man, I want you to come and do that for my group. They're going to ask you, how much do you charge? And that's the indication that you are ready to begin setting a fee schedule and charging for your services, but not before that. You don't set a fee until you feel there's enough demand for what you have to say and how you're saying it. A lot of people price themselves out of work because they think they're more qualified than they are. They think they're better than they are. The market will tell you. The people in your audiences will tell you. And so you need to get really good to the point where when they hear you, they say, man, that's the best thing I've ever heard. I've never heard anything quite like that. God, I need that for my group. Most of my work for the last 25 years was through word of mouth. Someone either heard me in person and told a friend, and the friend invited me, or word just spread about my effectiveness from the people who were in my audiences, people who were there and who were in charge of other groups. That's the best marketing you can have, is having a life-changing message, a message that adds so much value to the lives of your audience that the people there say, I need that for my group, if they're meeting planners, if they're over organizations. When people start asking you how much you charge, that's also time for you to begin learning about how to have conversations about money. Okay, a lot of people are so money hungry and avaricious, and it's clear that they're only interested in money. And you never want to come off. For me, money never crossed my mind when I was preparing to address an audience. When I got into this work, I just wanted to make a difference. I wanted to reach as many young people as possible. I wanted to help as many teachers and administrators and counselors and anyone who worked with struggling students, underperforming students, students who've been just through some hard things. I just had a burden to make a difference. And that came through in my heart. It came through in my presentation, through my body language. I just want to help. I just want to help. At the same time, though, this is a business. If you want to make a living, then you need to learn how to have conversations about money in a comfortable way. There's an art and a science to it. That's for another video, I guess. But you need to learn how to talk about money. You need to know how to set your fees and your fee schedule. And you need to understand like how to put all that together and talk about it and to ask for the opportunity. And, there's contracts and all this other stuff that's involved. That's a little more advanced. But at the very beginning, you need to just learn, get good enough for people to ask you about how much you charge. And then you can begin thinking about, okay, how can I get better at talking about money? How much should I charge? If you set your fee too high, you're going to lose business. If you set your fee too low, people take advantage of you. And so there's a whole art and science to that, but you need to learn how to talk about money. Okay. And I'll talk about that in future videos. Number 9, do not reach out to speaker bureaus before you are ready. A lot of people start off saying, if I could just get the opportunities, then I'd be good. I'm like an amazing speaker. I just need opportunities. And so they reach out to speaker bureaus, but speaker bureaus aren't interested in helping beginners. Speaker bureaus generally aren't interested in anyone who doesn't already have traction, already a demand in the marketplace. From my experience, speaker bureaus don't want you until you don't need them. There has to be a win-win. You already have to be successful and have some traction, and only then will they come alongside you and say, okay, people are asking us about you and we have some opportunities that we think you would be a good fit for. But you don't want to reach out to speaker bureaus before you are ready. Honestly, when I started out, I reached out to over 400 speaker bureaus and almost all of them ignored me. And a couple that replied were like, we're not interested. You don't have anything to offer, pretty much. I reached out to so many people. No one cared. And so I had to create opportunities for myself. And I did that by doing what I'm telling you to do. Don't try to reach out to speaker bureaus before you're ready. Speaker bureaus actually will reach out to you when they feel like you have a message, or someone will hear about you, hear you speak, and reach out to speaker bureaus to see if that bureau can get you or can book you. And then bureaus will reach out and say, hey, would you like to be on our website? And then they take a percentage of the work that they send your way. And we can talk about that too, but it's usually about 20%, sometimes 30%. But you can negotiate those things. Okay. And number 10, you need to make your mind up that you're going to play the long game. The long game. What is the long game? When Nelson Mandela was in prison at Robben Island, he was there for almost 30 years. And he said one of the only things that kept him going was he knew he was playing the long game. He knew that one day he would get out. He knew that one day he would get out. And thinking about the long game is the only thing that kept him going. Speaking and in life and in business, you need to play the long game. Yes, you want to have wins, but sometimes it takes a while to get some wins. It takes a while to reach certain milestones. And so you have to just develop this perseverance and this grit that you're going to keep working on these things until a door opens. You're going to keep working to create opportunities for yourself. You're going to keep working to get better. You're going to keep rehearsing your presentation and making it stronger. You're going to keep sending out emails. You're going to keep creating content that you believe will generate some attention and some traction. And I tell you, most people will ignore you early on. Most people just don't care. There's so much overload and oversaturation on social media and in email. And it's so hard to get someone's attention that you have to just keep working and keep getting better every single day. Hone your craft, perfect your craft. And when an opportunity comes, you want to be ready for it. One of the worst things that can happen to you is to to get a big opportunity before you're ready for it. I've seen so many people over the past 25 years come and go, come and go. I've seen like 4 cycles of education in my 25 years. I've seen superintendents come and go, teachers come and go. I've seen speakers come and go, and I still kept going. They weren't playing the long game. They weren't developing the things that I'm telling you about. Okay, so these are the 10 things that I know are fundamental to getting you started. Not easy, not complicated, but not simplistic either. Like, these are simple things that take a lot of work, a lot of hard work and dedication and perseverance and focus and self-evaluation, self-awareness, but you can do it. I'm someone who didn't have any traction, didn't have any opportunities, but I believed I had a message the world needed to hear. I had a message that I believed could change people's lives. And it was that belief, that conviction that kept me going when my calendar was empty. It was that conviction that kept me going when the phone was not ringing. It was that conviction that kept me going, kept me up at night, because I believed someone needed my message. And so I just kept working on me, working on my message. I kept praying, asking God to give me direction, to give me clarity, to give me favor, to open doors for me. And I kept working on me. And early on, I was speaking for free. Then I was speaking for $300. And then it just kept going up from there. 25 years of sacrifice, of dedication. My boy Matt Bennett said, I have a magnificent obsession with speaking. And so we'll just be walking and talking, and I'm thinking through a phrase from my presentation. I'm thinking through something I can say differently. My family says, for the last 17 years, that my children have been born. They said they see me walking around talking to myself. And I tell them quite often, I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to the audience that I have in my head. I'm fixing a part of my presentation that I didn't like. I just obsessed over speaking and being my very best. So you want to have something that's worth you obsessing over. Have a message that's worth obsessing over. Have an audience that's worth obsessing over. Have a sense of calling and purpose that's worth obsessing over, because it's going to take obsession in order for you to excel. So these are the 10 things I want you to work on. If this helped you in any way, please like this video. Look around on my channel, watch some other videos. I plan to share a lot to help you flourish in your health, your wealth, your relationships, and in your service. I'm Dr. Manny Scott. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.